All right. So we're building an office.
All right. Today we're going to build an office. It's going to be an 8 by 12 office. We're going to have a 4-foot overhang for the entry area.
What's that mean?
You'll see.
Okay.
Today I want to show you framing. Framing is not very hard until you have to do roofs and that kind of stuff. So simple framing for like a shed or a small outbuilding, would be perfect. When you're laying out for framing, you want to pick a corner, one corner, and you're going to do your 16-inch layouts going this way and that way. You do both sides the same so that these all line up. Your stud layouts will line up going this way. And the reason you do that is so that as you build more floors or build more things, everything should stack on top of each other. Your joists should sit on top of your walls where the stud is. You should have your sheeting laid out so that you have crossover joints and so forth, so that all this weight is being directly on top of your stud. We're only going one story. We're going to make sure our layout's right. You can see I pre-marked a couple of the walls. You can kind of see my markings. When you buy like lumber and you're getting a 2x4 10-foot, this is not exactly 10 foot. You have to cut them to length, except for when you're doing like stud length. This is a 92 5/8 stud length. So those are already pre-cut. They're exact, ready to go. Your dimensional lumber, your bulk lumber like this is not. Let's start with this white board. We're actually almost an extra inch long. We're going a 12-foot wall, so you make a caret. That way you can't make a straight line, so you got to find a point. So that's what we often call as a caret. This is whitewood. It's just regular pine. This is treated pine. Sometimes we call it greenwood just because of the color, but greenwood is typically considered wood that hasn't been kiln dried or dried. So, and actually, treated wood is greenwood because it's got a lot of moisture in it. If you ever pick one up, it weighs like double, triple of what a regular one is because it's full of water. Actually, if you notice, normally you have these aren't always square, so you should probably look at your edge and make sure it looks square before you draw your line. You may want to cut the other side off, but here again, there's our caret. If you're not very good at cutting with a saw, circular saw, I'll show you a little trick. So first of all, we're going to mark our line right like that. See where my blade's lining up? See how it lines up to the right of the line? That's your actual length. So you want to be able to the right of it. You don't want to cut on it. You don't want to cut to the left of it. You want to cut to the right of it. So take your square, bring it up. You put your blade where you want it. You bring your square up. You hold it with one hand. You see, there's still the line. You can do that trick on about everything if you want to, or if you're just a good sawer. You can do it by eye. This is going to be the front wall, and like I said, we're laying out from this way, that way. This is our bottom plate. This is our top plate. Our first mark is your first stud, which is 1.5 inches. Now we lay out on 16-inch centers. That'd be the center of your 2x4. So if you mark 3/4 on each side of that, that'll be actually the sides of the board. Quick way to do this is once you get one marked, I'm going to go ahead and mark both at the same time. Got our end one. Alright, now from here, if you just set your tape on the first mark, here's 16 inches, 32, 48, 64. We started from the left side, so as we mark it, we're going to mark which side the stud goes on with an X. That way it's easy means you line up your edge of your stud there and put the stud here. That's how what the X's are for. When you're doing your framing, you're going to need to do a corner. This is our board going along there. Our inside corner is going to be here. So you're going to have a 3.5 board sticking this way. And why do we do that? Now keep in mind when you do the other side, it's going to be opposite because you're flipping the board this way, so it'll be the same. Why do we do this? This is so you can have an inside corner for your sheetrock. Squares are nice because they got all kinds of cheats. You know, you can just hook it on there and you got your 1.5 inches. Go 3.5. Like that. There's your studs. So what I was saying is these are going to match up when you put that one on top of the other one, like that. I think I did this wall, which has a doorway in it. Now I'm going to bring this over and we'll just walk through it real quick so you know what's going on. I got a stud, and I want to have a door close to the corner. Got my king stud, my jack stud. If you look, first I went through and I did my stud layout. You know, there's 1.5 inches. Here's my center. You move that over. These should track right along. We got our studs marked. We're going to have a 3.0 door, which is a 3-foot door, 36-inch door. 36-inch doors, the door's 36 inch, but you got to add 1 inch on each side for the frame. So you're going to go 38 inches in the middle. If I started with a king stud, a jack stud, then you got 36 inches in between, or 38 inches in between. You got a jack and a king again. How do you figure out your header size? Your header goes between the king studs and on top of the jack stud. You're basically adding 3 inches. So you can see I'm at the edge of the king and the jack, and so you come over here, you got a 41-inch header. I normally mark the center 41 inches, so I know how big to make my header down the road. From king,
The edge of king.
the point between the king and the jack, and the point between the king and the jack, that's where the header sits. They call it a jack stud because it's like a jack, it's holding it up. I don't know why they call it a king stud, other than it just sounds good for like card play, kings and jacks. We're ready to start framing. So
All right, back up, back up.
You gonna hand me the camera so it's easier for you to get up?
Yeah.
Braden gets to be on the film for once. He's half my show, but he's not on here enough. We get him on more once we get
Hate
on
ladders.
the Bronco and stuff.
Hate them.
He's the good-looking part of the family.
How the f did I get up?
Just put a knee up. I'd climbed up to higher on the ladder first.
Ugh. I hate heights.
I know you do.
I show people I can do it, and anybody can do it.
Climb higher on the ladder with your hands on the ply.
Okay.
That way you can just put a knee on it and go on up. There you go. Hold on to the wall.
Hate this. Might do something I'm not supposed to, but that's okay.
There you go.
Okay. I almost like climbing them where they're just leaning on it rather
No,
than...
you're way smarter to always have a extension ladder leaning up.
Yeah.
And it should be at least 3-4 feet past the thing, so you've got something to hold on to as you get off. That's the safest. Our layout's always been on 16 centers going that way. I nailed my corner to the edge, laid my first 2 pieces, made sure they bump. You want to make sure they're tight against each other and that they line up here. If you don't line them up and they're not together, when you put your next pieces on, they're going to have gaps and stuff. You want to make sure you get your first row really straight and right. And then I nailed the backs first and my joints. You come back, and as you start nailing off, especially on your first row, make sure if you got to bump a joist one way or the other to center it on your 16-inch layout. You see how I've made sure it's centered on each one? Go all the way with that. If you don't do that and you've got a big floor and you've got a bowed board, you're going to have a situation where that board's just going out and then back in, and if it's at a seam, you'll have to like put boards on it to make it work. If you've got it straight, it's going to just line right up. We're ready to move on to our next piece. What I normally do is get a corner tight, and then if you don't have room to work out here, because it's easier if you can lift it up and like a 45 and push it in and then drop it. But if you don't have any place to work like this, where I can't just go out there and walk.
Watch out, watch out. You're getting pretty close to the edge.
You can do the old stomp trick and stomp it tight. And you might have to take a hammer and just tap it a little bit. That's tight. Might have a hammer time. It started anyway.
Yeah, because I guess let me show what you're talking about, because it's got the joint here. It connects.
Yeah, and sometimes you gotta watch these grooves and tongues, because if they get mangled up like that and don't let it go in, sometimes you got something in there that's not letting it quite go. Like that would do it. Something. Take you a block of wood so you don't bang up your edges. Did that work? Yep. Oh, that's probably under what not to do. That's pretty close.
It's close.
There may be a little chunk of something in there. If I were doing a whole house, I'd pull it off and make sure I got it right. But because this is our last row, it doesn't really matter that much. I'm looking over so I know where the joist is, and I can look behind me. Oops, double nail.
So now you got. Do you place that one in and then cut it, or what do you?
I'm going to measure it, cut it. Otherwise, you're gonna have trying to cut into a wall. Here's one thing to keep in mind when you're putting your cut sheet on, your stagger sheet. Try and remember to put your cut edge to an outside so that you've got factory edges going together. So this will be my factory edge. So we'll measure front to back here is 33 1/4. I'm gonna go, because we got a little gapping, I'm gonna go 33. So there's that one. Chalk box.
Do you have a favorite color of chalk?
Not really. The only thing to think about when you're doing chalk is if you've got something like, say you were doing stained concrete down there and you're chalking with red. Red's really hard to get off. So you want to maybe go to a blue. Blue seems to be easier to get off than the red. Or if you're doing, they actually make white chalk, which is good in some circumstances. I'm just going to do it this way so I don't have to worry about pieces falling.
You show them the angle or whatever.
Yeah, I'll show you how the angle kind of helps. Maybe that wall's probably not straight over there. Oh, I've got that. Forgot about that sticking out. I'll have to notch it.
Have to.
That'll change how we do it. Forgot the notch. 23 1/4 to 25. Let's go. A little big, but if you got to angle it all trying to get it in, you don't have any play. Flip it. I gotta start a little early and then push it over.
Crap, now we're hitting the metal beam.
Now we're hitting the metal beam by just a hair. can guess distance. Let's see if that'll let us get it in. The last piece is always the hardest. Oh, it's still pretty tight.
There.
Here comes the rain. Oh, I can feel the cool air already, though.
Yeah.
Oh, needed bullets. And that's it. Dude! Now, if you were doing this for a house, you'd probably want to put glue on your joists. And you can nail them, but I would use ring shaped nails. And some people like to screw them just to make sure they don't have squeaks, but I've never had. If you glue it good and shrink nail it, I've never had a squeaky floor with that. Only reason we're not doing it here, this is basically a temporary structure. We're in a rental building. We may have to take this out when we leave. Anyway, that's pretty much, other than doing some railings, our next thing will be getting the electrician here, get that done, and then do our sheetrock and insulation. And we'll have us a nice little office.